My name is Victoria Baker. I live in Everett, Washington. I'm a Waldorf early childhood educator, and one of the things that put me on this path was the desire to have integrity between my personal and professional life and to really stand for what I represent in my vocation. Oh, something I was really struggling with was being a caregiver and in a nurturing role, and yet having that irony or contrast of not providing for myself what I was doing for others, family, children, parents, students. I think I felt more of an observer of life and on the periphery, although I was very central in many things and even in roles of leadership. I felt this guardian role, rightfully, I guess, but also that shadow experience of being apart from what I was creating, apart from the community, apart from relationships, apart from events, and wanting to be experiencing things in real time and presencing them rather than being the passive observer, or I guess active observer. And I felt so, yeah, stepping into the center, and rather than manipulating or just influencing, but really being an experiencer of life. Well, I encountered this work about midway through a journey where I realized I just really had to make a shift, and where things were working that weren't working that should have, or things were working but at a great personal cost to me. And so I really knew that I needed to reorient to my life, to my work, to my family, to my marriage in a profoundly different and positive way. It looked like illness. It looked like being alone in a marriage unnecessarily, being in community, but but being apart. And our children are really beautiful transmitters, and just watching my child, like many children do, live out my internal turmoil and suffering and inability to address really fundamental needs. I think I'm somebody who loves to learn and loves information and is intellectually curious. So I think there's a desire to live what you know. So I want to embody a lot of the learning and insight that I have, and also just to not compartmentalize. I mean, it's so easy to just like, okay, if I just get my finances under control, if I just get my weight under control, if I just learn this new skill or modality, or if I'm just this organized, no matter what the personal cost, then I'll have a winning formula. I really just came down to, if none of that would work if I didn't have that fundamental well-being and security and trust within myself. I like the term soul fracking. It's like, an example was, I went to an acupuncturist with beautiful results. I felt amazing. So I went every Thursday. And then by Friday afternoon, after a day of work, it was all taken out of me and all gone. And I just said, I'm using these healing modalities to give myself more rope to hang myself rather than to shift, rather than to heal. It's just extending my reach. I have a friend who does Reiki who knows Suzanne, and I saw her book on her table, and I was really compelled, I think, by the language of elevating your life, love, and leadership. And pardon me if I'm not saying it properly, but that elevating what you're doing, elevating the intention, elevating the effectiveness, that just really called to me because I'm at an age where I feel like I have a lot of capacity and experience and insight, but how to bring that to bear effectively and in a way people can receive and in a way that is sustainable for me is what I was looking for. I decided to take Suzanne's course after reading her book and really finding it accessible because of the lens of the archetypes. I felt it was a lot more easy to live into than just looking at a chakra system alone or looking at things in terms of psychological terms. I could really hang something on those imaginations and recognize patterns through that lens. The other aspect which really appealed to me was her vision of cultural evolution. There's a lot of intersection there between her insight into the evolution of human beings and to what I work with as a Waldorf teacher. And I just felt this real intersection of truth and something with a lot of depth and perspective. Well, I was very intimidated by the level of success or perceived level of success and achievement in the other participants. I think I'm a minority in the program in that I work in a very low status vocation in early childhood. So I was intimidated by that. I it's just an awareness I went into the program that I was maybe bringing issues that just aren't living for other women who are high earners and have financial security. I had a different path of being a young parent and feeling like I'd never found the winning formula or making everything work in my family and life on the physical material level. So I felt that might be something different. And when I was in the program, the other side of that is I realized that I have a measure of fulfillment and community that other women wish they had in their lives. So we all have things that we're hoping to activate in our lives. Working with my triad was very powerful, and just in the sense of accountability and also being able to share a very deep and very personal process in a safe way. So I think having that community with this really tender and powerful work just kind of turned up everything. And in the practices, I felt there's so many things that I wanted to do or had the intention to do in the past and that I hadn't made space for. So just having accountability to really extreme self-care in a way was very impactful. I really appreciated how calm and down to earth and methodical in a way that Suzanne proceeded through the work. The idea of working through a sequence really resonated with the chakra studies, but it was also more accessible because the archetypes gave more living imaginations. So I appreciate her ability to have levity, but also be very serious and really go into the science and take time to unpack what's necessary to make shifts, and also what's so challenging in different patterns and the sources of those challenges. It's tricky to speak to one aspect being an aha point because I really felt a cascading effect. I felt that kind of soul economy you feel when you're in alignment with the universe and you're having synchronous experiences and in flow. So I, instead of my usual busyness and churn and watching from the periphery, I felt more present, and also the the chance to have anticipation and things joyfully bubble up instead of I often picture myself like a donkey, um, and I'm the master with a stick going on to the next thing, next thing, next thing, not remembering holidays, not remembering something beautiful I brought to my students because it's all a blur of busyness. So um, I think that that capacity for presencing, and also that that breathing of rhythm, which supposedly I stand for as a Waldorf educator, not just offering that, but living that. I'd say one of the biggest shifts that I experienced was really having a critical lens on the social obligations and engagements that I agree to. Um, I have a strong urge to show appreciation and make people feel important, and um, and it's really hard for me to feel like I might not be showing up for someone, or I might be letting down my women's circle by not being present, no matter, even if the consequences are way out of proportion to myself, my personal well-being. So my ability to really distill and focus and hold those choices up to what my true priorities are. So I feel like that, really had that sinking, that plumb line sinking in, and really been able to ask, is this in alignment with my well-being? Is this in proportion to what I want or need to do? So I would absolutely recommend this course to all of the beautiful women in my life and all of the cool men in my life. I really recognize in the people that are positive and healthy and engaged the mysterial qualities. And on the other side of that, I have so many colleagues and beautiful friends who I know experience stuck places that could be daylighted and shifted by engaging in this work in a safe and objective place. So I do have the fantasy. I'm going to be 49, so I really had the fantasy on my 48th birthday buying 48 copies of the book and giving it to all the cool people in my life. I didn't realize that I was a person of very low trust because I'm such a high optimism person. I didn't realize that, but I realized that I had such a small circle of people who I felt really saw me, of despite being really involved in numerous overlapping and intersecting communities, that I really only felt completely seen by my two adult children. So I think having the willingness to be more vulnerable, to be authentically seen, and to really feel fundamental trust, I think that is, I guess at the heart of the work. And I, yeah, I didn't know that that was there or even an issue when I started the course. I think it's connected. I think being seen, I think being able to trust and have fundamental sense of security and sense of your worth um, is connected to that first portal of the mother. And I'm in good relationship with my mother. I'm a mother who is in positive relationship with my children. They visit me on holidays, and I'm a Facebook friend. So I didn't really see myself as somebody who had issues in that area. And so that was something that was really uncovered for me, what the mother wound looks like and the different ways it can manifest, and how you have to address that fundamental trust, security, and well-being before you can build upon anything else. I Yeah, it's just been a really rich time. There's been a big shift. I'm on the other side of a big shift and a big project, and making myself vulnerable professionally, and also a really joyful summer of saying yes to my passions around puppetry and prioritizing seeing family and being in nature. So I'm just feeling a lot of gratitude for this work.